Eggs and Empires. This is a game that I picked up quite some time ago, I believe at Origins 2015, but for some reason I never got around playing it. But recently I did play it, and today I'm going to tell about the game and my impressions after playing the game. Eggs and Empires, a fantasy game with a pretty interesting, innovative premise, or I should say, an innovative variation on a very well-known idea. Players control parties of heroes that are traveling around the fantasy world looking for treasures. Yes, you probably have heard that plot before. But here, the treasures are not special magic items, but eggs. Magic eggs, mysterious eggs. Some eggs are good, some eggs are exploding eggs, which give you negative points. So here are the good eggs, and here are the bad eggs. I guess they could have gone for something more traditional, like maybe good gems and cursed gems. It wouldn't really have made a difference. It's a variation on a well-known idea. Maybe these heroes are trying to put together a good wedding present for Daenerys Targaryen. What do I know? Anyways, you have a deck of these eggs that are the ones that the players are trying to collect. It's one large deck, but you do not use all of the cards. Some cards you only use for 6 players, with 6 players or 5 or 6. This is the deck that you use for fewer players than that. Then each player gets a deck of 10 cards. All of these decks are identical. As you can see, they have different colors. So each player gets a different one. Each player shuffles their own deck of 10 cards. And then, at the beginning of each turn, a number of cards from this deck is turned face up, and these are the eggs that are available this turn. And the number of cards that is revealed depends on the number of players. So players then, after shuffling their deck, draw 3 cards into their hand, look at their cards, and they can start playing. The way it works is super simple. Each turn, each player simply selects a card from their hand and puts it down face down. Once everybody is committed, players reveal their selection and they look at the numbers. These 10 characters that are in each player's deck have numbers from 1 to 10, but many of them also have special abilities. Unless the abilities mess things up, you simply go from highest value to lowest. So the highest value player, the player that controls the character with the highest value, gets to choose first. I think I'll get this egg here. Thank you very much. And puts the egg in their pile. And then you go around from highest to lowest until all eggs have been distributed or all players have used their character. If you can use an egg, if you can take an egg, you must take an egg, which is why people also end up having dots in their score pile, otherwise that would never happen. But what if there is a tie here, you say? That makes sense. If there is a tie, you have this tiebreaker here. There's a marker that goes around the table and is used precisely for that, to break ties. Hence the name. Then you repeat, and so on and so forth. You repeat that for until each player is down to a single card in their deck. So that means 9 turns. The last card is not used. And at that point, you simply score the cards that you have in your score pile, the good and the bad. And you need a piece of paper and a pen or pencil to keep track of the amount of points that each player is scoring. At the end of each round, you repeat like that with, again, 10 cards, only 9 of which are used. You follow the procedure for a total of 3 rounds. You total the points the players have scored, and at that point, the player with the highest total is the winner. So it can be a little inconvenient because the game doesn't come with anything that allows you to keep track of numbers. Today, I guess you can also just open a note on your cell phone. But in any case, if you don't want to do that, there are these tokens here that are used to keep track in pub situations, conventions, without having to write down numbers. If you're using this variant of the game, at the end of each round, the player that scored the most gets a token. If there is a tie, each player gets a token. And the player that first reaches a certain amount of points is the winner of the game. And the number of tokens that it takes you to win the game in that case also depends on the number of players. But if I describe the game like this, it sounds pretty dry, not even dull. Match numbers, highest wins, me. But actually, there are a couple of wrinkles that are added to the design by the special abilities of the characters. Of course, I want to show you those, and it just so happens that the two characters that come in my hand are the ones that do not have any ability. The hero with 10, just a big tank that wins all the stuff, and one, just the bard, that's pretty much useless. Other characters have different abilities. Some will be triggered in any case, some will be triggered if the character gets a card, and some if actually the character does not get a card. But it's important that players, no matter what the abilities are, only get to collect a single card per turn. Now, let me show some of the abilities. The courier, if the courier did collect an egg card, you may give that card to another player. So actually it may not be all that bad to collect a dot with this courier, because then you get somebody else saddled with it. The merchants, if the merchants do not collect an egg card, you receive 6 victory points at round end. So you need to make a note about that. It's a good consolation prize, eh? Shepherd. The Shepherd trumps only has a 3, so gets beaten by most people, but somehow has a upper hand against the Blacksmith, which is 8. And that's all the Shepherd does, is unusual. 3 beats 8. Scout will talk about it later. The priest did collect an egg. You may discard an egg card from your collected eggs, so it's good, again, to try to clean your score pile from bad cards. The Dark Priestess is super neat because it has 9, but unfortunately, if more than one has been played, then simply the priestesses do not collect eggs. So that's another interesting wrinkle. It's a great card, but you need to make sure that you're not playing it when somebody else is playing one too. You need to try to glean what the odds are there. Mage. The mage does not collect face-up exploding eggs, so if there is one such egg out there, the mage is not forced to collect it, even if maybe otherwise the mage would be. And you notice that they talk about face up and face down, because there is a case in which one or more of the cards out there may be face down, and that is caused by the scout. The scout is pretty meh, not good at all. But when you play the scout, you look at the next card. Ooh, I know. Ooh, this is a good one. I know that piece of information now. Thank you, Scout, for telling me. And you put it face down on the table. The cards that are taken by scouts and looked at by players and placed on face down are in addition to whatever other cards would be available usually. So if usually it's 2 and one scout was played, now there are 3 cards and only the scout player knows what that card is. So the mage does not force you to pick up face up egg cards. You may actually take a face down, but you may skip it even if it's an exploding egg, so you may go in blind and try it. The scout we already talked about, and the blacksmith. If the blacksmith does not collect an egg card, you receive minus victory points at round end. Again, more stuff you need to keep track of. It's a pretty mighty card, but I guess he feels very bad about himself if he misses the chance, since he's pretty good. If he fails to collect a card, there is a penalty there for that. Eggs and Empires. This is how the game works. It's simple, moves quickly, because you really look at your hand, play a card, turn the card face up, resolve. And then, of course, you draw to get back to 3 cards in your hand, but that is what the game is about. It's super simple, it's super linear, but I find it pretty enjoyable. Definitely in the filler category, which is fine. I mean, we need some fillers from time to time. We need those games too to fill the void between games in a long game night. When you're traveling, yes, when you are at the pub or where it is, when you're waiting for your children to be done with their soccer class and maybe you play a game. So there are many cases where games of this kind are useful. And a good filler to me is one that is portable. Check, we got that. One that is easy to teach. Check, we got that. And this is interesting and has some interesting decisions even within the limitations, of course, of the game, being very simple, very quick, and not being too deep. Is this a deep game? No, and there's a lot of luck involved, but if you don't mind the luck-based elements, definitely it is a game that is entertaining. I was absolutely entertained every minute that I was playing the game. Sometimes I was stuck with a bad hand, but I was still trying to figure out what the opponent was doing. Maybe the opponent had one that was even worse, so actually playing the best that they could and try to figure out what the opponent had in mind and had in their hands, that was still something that kept me entertained. Again, a simple filler, but definitely enjoyable. The art is absolutely beautiful. It's really pleasant. I like it. Fantasy game about collecting eggs, about managing a hand of cards, a very limited deck, so you get a sense of what is there, what you may get next, but you still have to make decisions based on what you have, what you think you'll get, what's available on the table at any given moment, and what you assume the player has in their hand. So enough decisions to keep you entertained for the 15 to 30 minutes that it takes to play the game, depending on the player's proficiency and the number of players. Still, since players tend to play at the same time and then they reveal the cards, there is that advantage there. Of course, more players may mean that there will be higher chances that somebody will take longer than desirable to make their move, but at least it's not like you have to wait until everybody has taken their move and it has to go around 5 times before it gets back to you. You do not have that problem. Eggs and Empires. Simple, light, a filler, but definitely an enjoyable one. A nice little game, definitely.